Wives, submit to your husbands as Christ. Your example, right, is Christ, not your husband. Your husband benefits from how you observe and from your relationship with Christ. Not in accordance to every Valentine's Day fad and fashion. Every single movie that comes back is a friend of mine. Can I say this? It makes Zulu people look bad, man. So there's a friend of mine, his wife, he comes home one day and his wife has laid a blanket in the lounge. And laid a blanket in the lounge and she's put food on the floor, you know, and they're about to eat. He walks in, he goes, where's the food on the floor? He says it in Zulu, it sounded very like, where's the food on the floor? Why are we touching the floor? And he starts trying to pick it up. He says, no. We're having a picnic, indoor picnic, right inside the house. We're having an indoor picnic. And he says, why are we eating from the floor? That's filthy, that's dirty. He says, no, it's romantic. You watch too many movies where people fail to compromise for the sake of the other. It is doomed for failure. I don't care whether you're talking finance, whether you're talking about sex, whether you're talking about how many children you have. I don't care whether you're talking about career and alignment of career goals. Where there is no compromise, failure is bound to take place. Failure is bound to happen. Now, I know Adventists, as soon as you talk about compromise, they think if you're a vegetarian, you must compromise and eat meat. That's not. We're not talking about cooking compromise. We're talking about suspending your desires, your wants, and prioritizing those of the other person. That's what submitting to one another is about. I mean, I'm not positioning myself here as like, you know, the paragon of compromise or of love. But it's a decision that we took as a family, right? To say that, hey, look, it looks like your career is going in the right direction. It looks like you're doing well at work. Let's not curtail that. Let me resign, I'll follow you. I've got other options. God, I'm here. Right? God is never out of options to use me if He needs me. He knows where to find me. Right? But I don't think you will have this opportunity ever again. So let's go. And we went, and we are in PE, and we are happy. We can see. And of course, there in that illustration, which I'm going to bring up later on, right, is the idea of compromising your goals, your future. Let me say your future, but compromising your goals so that you can promote the goals of the other party, right? They can't always run at the same time. I'll tell you again how we did that as a couple and how you can do that as a family. So friends, learn to submit to one another. At some point, what you need needs to be suspended in the bedroom, right? When you are intimate in the bedroom, the best sex is not the one where you derive maximum pleasure from. It is the one where you dedicate yourself to delivering maximum pleasure. Hey guys, you hate sex. Is it because you don't? Is it why? Is it like taboo to talk about it? Okay. Or you already know what I'm saying. Okay. So the best sex is not where you are there to get your rocks off, right? It's not where you are there to say, hey, and get over and done with. It is not where you are there to extract pleasure. It is when you are there to deliver pleasure. That's the best sex of your life. You just suspend your own want for pleasure and dedicate yourself to delivering pleasure for the other party. Because it's in the way. He's going there, right? Everything he does is for that moment. So to insert his little sausage. So when you do that, right? When you do that, you prioritize your pleasure and you ignore so many things that your partner tells you to do. You can't hear them because you are focused. Tunnel vision. You can't hear when you when you do the right thing. Right? I don't know, ladies, you would have experienced this, where he touches you a certain way and you say, oh, I wish we could linger there a little bit longer. And just as you're enjoying it, he's gone. Because he's not there to stay. He's on his way to the promised land. It's gone. Right? So How do you solve that? Gents, don't look at your woman's body as something to be consumed, but rather look at it as something to be explored. Yeah, that's your problem. You listen to Paul, you don't listen to Solomon. Solomon talks about, in the Songs of Solomon, you must read that thing, man. It's beautiful. She says, come, my lover, climb up my towers. You know, and when she talks about the towers, look at what Solomon has called a tower. When she says, pick the peaches from my fruit tree, look at what Solomon called a peach. What does she want? Right? She wants to be explored. Right? She wants to know intimate knowledge of your woman's body, where everything is. Where even when you are closing your eyes, you can tell which part of her body is because your hand has already been there. But you can't do that if you're going to prioritize your own pleasure. Submit to one another. Gents, in the bedroom, you're not a king, you're a mouse. Through every single corner, exploring, but not as fast as the mouse. Okay, slowly and gently submit to one another. You will hear that I keep crossing these topics over each other because that's how interrelated and interconnected they are. By the way, you cannot fail to submit to one another when it comes to crafting what the relationship should look like, and then think you'll be successful at submitting to one another in the bedroom. The attitude you have in how you interact and engage with each other every day is not going to suddenly be discovered in the bedroom. You cultivate that self-sacrificial attitude, not in the bedroom, which is required in the bedroom, but outside of the bedroom, in how we treat each other every day, right? Then Paul says, wives, submit to your husbands, and husbands, love your wives, right? And I need to talk to the men here for a moment. Is it okay, guys?
Yes.
Let me just chat to the gents here for a moment. Let me say this. Love, when Paul says, husbands, love your wives, he uses a very interesting word. He doesn't say eros, so it's not romantic love. He doesn't say phileo, which is brotherly love, right? Philadelphia, it's not brotherly love. But he chooses a very interesting word. He calls it agape. Find that word in John chapter 3 verse 16. For God so agape the world. And what does agape love do? It gives unconditionally. Right? For God so loved the world that he gave. Agape love gives unconditionally. So when Paul says husbands love your wives, he's saying love them unconditionally. In other words, spoil them with your love independent of what they do. So you don't love them because they submit. You love them even when they don't submit. You love them until they submit. Actually, even when they submit, you don't stop loving them. The love is unconditional. Right? It continues. You love them as you want God to love you. That when you do something wrong and you come back and apologize, God forgives you. Don't you believe that?
Yeah.
Right? You love them such that even when they are having their mood swings, you continue to love them. You don't see their acting out as a rejection, you see their acting out as a cry for help. A love that pursues unceasingly, a love that continues to chase without getting tired.
Yeah.
It's unconditional. It is a love that is not inspired by something external of it, but a love that is self-sustaining. It is undivided, unborrowed. Mrs. White writes about that kind of love. I think it's Desire of Ages. She talks about love, quiet in its nature, yet diffusive in its effect. Right? It's very quiet, it doesn't shout, it doesn't go, you see me, I love my wife. You see me, I'm a romantic man.
Yeah.
You see me?
Yeah.
Ask her. That time the woman doesn't even know what this guy is talking about. It's a very quiet love, it's a very soft love, it's a very humble love. It doesn't brag, right? But it's diffusive. You see it in the woman. You know how you know that a man loves. You don't hear it from him. You see it from the woman, right? So we go to, it's a self-sacrificing love, right? You sacrifice. That love, that kind of love sacrifices. At home, we've got this thing where they've got this culture, right? Where back in the day, the man used to eat first. And so the woman would cook the whole chicken and give it to the man. Then he'll eat, and whatever's left over, he'll hand it over to the wife and the children, and they'll have to share what's left over. Because Baba is the king. Now, I don't have a problem with you doing that at home, okay? You can do that if you're okay with it. But your children mustn't starve, man. So, Baba is the king, so he must eat first. We used to have that culture, right? But it's antithetical to the Bible, it's opposite to the Bible. Because the Bible, what the Bible demands from men is, as a man, if you bought the chicken, if the wife cooks the chicken, serves it, you do not eat until the family is done. Then you eat last, as a man. That's agape love. I got married, and then we had a kid in 2015, a child, our first son in 2015. And my grandmother says to me, you see now, you are number 3. She kept saying, you know how old people like to talk in parables. She says, you see now, you are number 3. I don't understand what she means that I'm number 3. What does she mean? So I ask her, what do you mean that I'm number 3? She says, no, when you get things, the first person is the baby. The second person is your wife. You are the last one to get. You are number 3. There's food, you feed the baby first, the wife eats, then you're the last one to eat. That's agape love, self-sacrificing love. How did you know that a woman is loved? It is when she looks better than her husband. Hello. I'm talking to the guys, I'm not talking to you ladies. Don't go home and say, did you hear the pastor? He said, right, I'm not talking to you. This is not for you. Right? I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the guys. And that's another thing that we do in marriages, right? We always listen for the other person. We don't listen for ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? We are accumulating arguments. And how can I win this argument? And I know that most of you are not here to fix your marriages. You are here to garner and gather ammunition, so that when you get home, you shoot each other down with it. Hey, don't use my name in vain. The lightning that shall strike you is still doing push-ups. Right? So it's that kind of self-sacrificing love, gents, right? And here's a quick illustration. How do you know that a woman? So you can't be, as a man, come to church every Sabbath in a 3-piece suit, and your wife is wearing the same 3 dresses. Well, now we've never seen you repeat the same thing, but your wife is wearing the 3 dresses, she's just rotating between 3 dresses. I'm gents. Over and over again without getting damaged. Right? So she needs to balance the shoes out. It's not opulence.
Amen.
It's survival. Right? Buy shoes so that they don't get old from the crowd outside of church. Right? So it can't be that you look better than your wife when you are the one whose love is supposed to be self-sacrificing. Let me take it to the bedroom. It can't be that you get more orgasms in the bedroom than your wife when it is your love that is supposed to be self-sacrificing. It would appear that for Paul, the leadership of a man is not through dominance, but through subservience, self-sacrificing. Right? There was a guy in one of my, when we were growing up, he used to, when you meet him, right? I used to dread meeting this guy. You know, when you're young, you're a teenager, you don't want people to know that you go to church, right? Hey, but you meet this guy, from the back room there. You know, the moment he sees you, he's here. As young as you are, he's bowing. I wasn't a pastor, I was a teenager. He's bowing. By the time he gets to you, he's by your knees. He's just, he keeps going down. Now, if he does that, you also have to bow. He goes further, you have to bow. So we always try to bow each other whenever we see it. That's why I used to hate seeing him, because my knees couldn't take it, man. But and that's what Paul is talking about here. It is that submission. You look, how low has this one gone for my sake? Can I go lower than that? See what I'm talking about? I'm not talking how high has this one gone. It's how low has this. In other words, because everything that is given in marriage, it comes from somewhere. It is a sacrifice. I could have done 1, 2, 3, but I chose to do this. I chose to prioritize you at this time. So how can we outbow each other?
Sure.
in marriage? Are we able to, hey, my friend, look, it's okay, we can come to church and say, a man must be a king in his house. A man must be, we can do that in church for sure because it makes us look big and whatever, but don't take it anything home. I'm a man. This topic should be covered by a woman. But because we don't have a lot of women pastors to talk about this, men pastors must talk about submission, and that's where the problem is. It's because while the Bible gives submission to women, the church appoints men to teach what God has appointed women to do. Silence. Right. Anyways, wives, submit to your husbands. Right. Yo, I need to get this. Ladies, have you ever wondered why it is that your husband can tolerate disrespect from anyone elsewhere, but he finds it difficult. He finds it difficult to live with the disrespect he gets from you. Have you ever wondered why? Have you ever wondered why it is that Elder Bear, I have to make an example of you too because you're closer. It's not personal. But have you ever wondered why it is that Elder Bear can be in a church board, be insulted by church members, be called all manner of names by church members? But when he gets home, like they can call him anything, a fool, an idiot, they can call him a devil worshipper. I've been called a devil worshipper. The saints are very mean, yes? You want that devil worshipper, they can call you that, they can call you that. But when he gets home, he can't handle you saying, are you even thinking? Who are you talking to like that? Have you ever wondered? You know, church members can call him useless, but the moment he gets home, he can't handle you saying, but no man, nya man, nah, ubita nah man, nah man. You know, so whatever. Of course, it's a ridiculous example, but you can tolerate. A man can tolerate ridiculous things, insulting things, dehumanizing things from other people, but somehow he seems hyper insensitive to even the smallest form of disrespect from you. Have you wondered why that is? Have you wondered why? It is because there is a divine power to submission. There's a divine power, and I'm not joking. I'm not one who's given to superstitions and all that. I sincerely believe that there's a divine power to submission. That when, just as the smallest insult can hurt him, the smallest insult from you can hurt him, the smallest compliment can make his day. Do you know, I don't care who says what about my preaching. I don't care. I don't care. I've got a favorite preacher, Pastor Pablo. Was I telling you? Yes. He's my favorite preacher. Like he's been my role model for years. So over the years we've become friends with him. Right? See, I'm friends with Papa. So then he says to me the other day we were cycling together, riding, and then he says to me, "Tell me, my friend, how does it feel to be friends with your role model?" He asked me, "How does it feel to be friends with your role model?" And you're like, you know, and we're joking, right? Not even Papa, a comment from Papa about my preaching, right, has the same impact as a comment from my wife about my sermon. Papa can say, "That was the best sermon I've ever had." And I go home, and my wife says, "Yeah." So I'll let my guy, I'm impacted, I'll go to the other side. And what did you mean? What does it mean? What was wrong? He says, "No, baby, I've had better sermons from you." Okay. So when you say you've had better, what do you mean about, hey, that thing stays stays with you for a week. Like it stays with you for a week. You understand? Do you understand the point that I'm trying to drive at? That's because an affirmation from your wife does wonders for a man. It does wonders for a man. Hey, I can't talk about this because I asked for her consent. There's something that my wife likes to do, right? For me, right? Hey man, and she doesn't do it a lot. Hey, but when she does it, yeah, Elena, I can fight a whole army of Kasame and finish with 2 men on the other hill on the same day. And when she does that, you know, when she does that, it's our thing. And I don't tell her that I like it when she does it. It's the most ridiculous thing, but when she does it, I can take on the whole world. In fact, every time she does it, I switch off my phone for the day and I work the whole day. Yeah. It's the most. I don't understand. I don't know what it is about it. I'm still trying to figure it out. Right? But at the heart of it is this idea that when my woman stands next to me, submission is not self-abnegation. Submission is assuming, or rather submission is using the power you have over your husband responsibly.
Sure.
Let me say that again. Submission is not self-abnegation, it's not self-suppression, it's not destroying yourself. Right? That's not submission. Submission is using the power that God gave you over your husband responsibly. Because if misused, it could be destructive. Exact example after example of how this plays out. So, first one, illustration. I was in session. I've been a stewardship director for 3 years. So I was at session. I can talk about this now because I think I'm okay now. I've healed of it. You know, session was 3 years ago. Yeah, but I know her. You know the stage with the hurt. So I went to session and the session went on. I want you to just to envision how painful this is, right? So the session goes and they come back, right? So I've got my report. I've you know my report. I've tabled it out and I've presented it. Then 2 people stand up from the session floor and they ask. They say they're from whatever village, but they've never seen me in their village. Right? It's a big conference, 2 provinces. Right? They've never seen me in their village, which was right. I'd never been to their village. Right? And then another one stands up and says, yeah, we're also from another village. We've never seen you in our village. And then the conclusion was, this director never visits villages. Right? So 2 villages, and I'm a director that never visits any villages. I don't go to villages. Right? Then, you know, this thing gains momentum. Right? Then it's too proud. He doesn't visit villages. Yeah, he is proud. It's because of that English of his. I kid you not. That's what I said. Now here's the kicker. On the other side of the session, right? They're nominating, and I've been nominated for something. They come out, they read the names, and my name is there. I've been elected for something in the coming 3 years, right? They read the names, and then they say, okay, we're going to have an objections committee. They go out. The names are on the screen. Right? Session floor is full. Someone goes to the other side and object. Right? Now the objections committee is when someone objects moral issues. Right? Somehow they want to object. They objected that I don't visit villages. And I'm always on my bicycle. Right? And I cycle between 4:30 to 6:30. Which conference is open at 4:30 a.m.? And which church? Right? But yeah, I was proud and I was. So they removed my name. And then when they came back, they read the names again with no explanation as to why my name was removed. Right? No explanation why my name was removed. They put another name and then that's it. Session was over. No explanation. So everyone who meets me, who saw my name, right? And then also saw that in the next reading my name was gone, right? Believes that there was a moral issue. Because objections committee never remove people's names unless it's for a moral issue. Friends, I had never been that hurt in my life. Got into my car and I drove. The session was 2 hours away. Hey, that car was moving slow, man. I drove home. Now people think I was hurt because I was recalled. I mean, tell you now for free, I'm not made for the office. Like, the office I've always known that. I'm not made for it. I've always known that it's not going to be permanent. Anyways, hey, I drove. I don't know how, but someone had told my wife, right, and I hadn't told her. Someone had told her. When I got home, she was standing at the door. Right, she stood at the door, and I walked in, and she hugged me. Right, and she said, "It's good to have you back." Oh, friend, I wept like a baby. You know when you cry when you So I wept like a baby, and she hugged me, and she says, I know. We'll get through this. It's good to have you back. And she went out of her way to, guys, I don't care what those guys did. But what that woman did that day, it healed me of what 100 people did, all by herself. That's how much power she has. She has the ability to heal me alone of wounds that are inflicted upon me by 1,000 men.
Sure.
So when God says, wives, submit to your husband, she's saying, all and the power I've given you over your husband. Used correctly, it is explosive. Used wrongly, it is destructive. Do you know, as a church we suffer, not because men believe the truth, but we suffer because there are some men who have lost self-belief because it has been eroded at home. So, tell you this. Do you know why there's a man at church who keeps telling other women to cover their heads? It's because at home he can't exercise their authority. So he lives it out through our wives. Hello? Some of the low self-esteem we see in men, yes, men generally have low self-esteem. I promise you that. Men generally have low self-esteem, generally. But most of it is exacerbated by how their wives misuse the power they have over them. Alright? So, when the Bible says submit, it is saying handle that power responsibly. Stop this nonsense. I'm going to call it nonsense. I told you, gents, I was going to talk to them. Stop this nonsense of when a man tells you something in a fight, you bring it up. I said that again? When a man confides in you about something in a fight, you bring it up. At work, there's a guy, yo, I'm scared of that guy. You know when a man tells you his fears, that's big.
Yeah.
That's huge. When a man tells you what he's afraid of, that's huge. There's a guy where I'm afraid of him. He intimidates me, and I think he dislikes me. He's telling you his fears as his partner. And do you know why he brings it to you? Because you've got the power to allay him. You might not kill the man, please don't kill the man. Alright? But you are able to make him fearless. When is the next fight? Sugar. You bloody coward. I'm gonna call I'm here now. Right? And we like to do that, right? We like to do that. So what does it look like in the bedroom when the Bible says, wives, submit your own husbands? So, point number one, female sexuality is grossly misunderstood, not only in the church, but in Africa. In Africa, female sexuality is grossly misunderstood. Right? Women, when the older ladies, what do you call it? Yeah, instruct you, give you instructions on marriage, right? They teach you how to please a man. Or if they don't teach you, they give you insights into how to please a man. Women are never told how to find pleasure in sex. Hello. Never taught. Anyone whose mother said, okay, Nana, if you want to enjoy this thing, nobody, whose aunt ever did that? If you want to enjoy that, when these ladies were sitting with you, you know, say, you know, Manaka, a man is a simple creature. You You just need to do what it's always about. Women must give, they must give, right? And you'll see how this is critical when we talk about desire, keeping that desire alive, right? You must keep giving. You can only give so much before you get tired of thinking of new ways to give. Right? Because you're the only one who's doing it, right? Now, if you want to enjoy this thing, if you want rather for your partner to enjoy this thing, also find ways of teaching him to help you enjoy it. You have a right to enjoy it. Right? So sex is an opportunity there to people like, and they say this, they say, women say, friends, we must give our husbands, because if we don't give them, they're going to get it from somewhere else. Can you imagine having sex driven by insecurity? Right? You're not going to enjoy it. You're not going to find pleasure in that because you're not in the moment. You're trying to prevent it from going. You have the right to what?
Enjoy.
To enjoy it. Number two, you have the right to request it. Hey. I don't see ladies nodding. I don't know if you don't like what I'm saying. So, this couple, he says, it's like that other time, I wanted it. It's a guy. The other time, I wanted it. And then, she went to wash dishes. So I asked him, I said, so, did you tell her you wanted it? He said, yeah. Oh, she knows I do this thing when I want it. She knows it's this thing that I do when I want it. Like, so she knows it. And then she says, oh really? You wanted it? And he says, yeah. She says, I also wanted it. But when I got close, we picked up the remote. So I got upset and I went to wash the dishes. Turns out he was picking up the remote to play music on YouTube so that he can do the thing. And then they can. But, so I said to her, but if you wanted it, why didn't you tell him? She says, you never do that. You never do that. No. You never do that. So I'm looking at this couple, I'm thinking, so this thing is fight or what? Spin the wheel. Right? So if the woman touches her, she must hope that he touches her on the day that she wants it. Then it's on. Do you understand? Why don't you just get up and say, Ate, if you're afraid, I believe you need to worship. Without the kids. Okay, just find a way of saying it. Don't hold back. Right? You have the right to request it. You have the right to find pleasure in it. Gents and friends, women love sex as much as men, if not more. Let me say that again. Women love sex as much as men, if not more. Right? Stop policing their desire for sex by shading them when they express an interest in it. So what we do is that when a woman says, and she expresses that day, let's try something, let's try to do this, or let's do this. Where did you learn that? Who taught you that? Where did those things come from? Huh? Sometimes, we shame them for expressing an interest and a desire and for participating actively in the sexual experience. Promote it, encourage it as a man, right? Say, hey man, you change, you grow. I like it. Affirm it in positive words. Are we together? Culture, by the way, elevates men and men become the most dominant parties of the relationship. So women take on subservient roles of supporting the partners, right? To the point where they erase themselves. And do you know what that creates? Bitter women. in the long run. 3 years ago, and she said she wants to do an MBA. I just finished my master's in theology, and she said she wants to do her MBA. So I said, okay, let's go for it, right? And she went to the school, and the school said she can't go directly to the MBA program. She has to do a postgraduate diploma first, right? So after my master's, I wanted to register for my PhD, right? And she said, I want to do my MBA. Okay, I've just spent 2 years doing my master's. I'm going to suspend that. You can do your MBA. And she went in, did a postgraduate diploma, and you know what? She was pregnant. She was pregnant at the time, and I had to look after the young boy. Or somewhere in the middle of the diploma, she felt pregnant. I don't know how she felt pregnant. And I had to look after the other boy, you know. And she worked long hours. Sometimes she had to travel to Johannesburg for her blog sessions. Right? And I looked after this boy, and she finished it, and she passed it very well, right? And she passed it very well. And of course, when our daughter arrived, she can't assume, what do you call this? She can't do the second year of her MBA. She says, you know what? I'd like to sit and look after the child. And then she says, don't you want to do your PhD? I said, oh yeah. Went back and registered for my PhD, which is what I'm currently busy with, right? So, the move into Port Elizabeth is not a total distraction of my career and my progress, all right? It is a negotiated thing where she gets to do something, but I'm also doing something without infringing on what she's doing. My wife brings by me, has my manhood died? Do you know why? Because my manhood is not a salary. I'm not that cheap. They didn't pay me to be a man. They paid me to preach, to take care of churches. They don't pay you to be a man. They pay you to run the organization. Are we together? Don't attach your manhood to your job. You are giving it more than what they are paying you for. Don't tie your manhood to that thing, all right? So and this is why we need to think about it like this, right? So that when we do not see the success of our spouse as a threat, but we see what it is, a blessing. At work, when you look for people to work for you, what do you do, right? You look for the best people, isn't it? Hello? Yes. Yeah, you appoint the best people for the job. You headhunt. You are headhunted because you're the best at what you... At the job, you're the best at the interview. Are we together? Why is it that when it comes to our families, we appoint people based on their gender regardless of how mediocre they are? Hello? In the home, when it comes to doing things in the home, one is to compromise the quality of the life at home simply because you are a man. The fact that I'm a man does not always mean I will earn what we deserve as a family. Hello. By the way, gents, talk to you about this. Right? So at the moment, my wife is teaching the kids. She's very good at that, teaching them Bible lessons. She teaches them songs. She's very good with them. Elementary stuff, right? So my son has just started grade 1, right? We'll go to grade 2, grade 3. I know at some point I have to take over to start teaching him or mathematics homework or accounting homework, right? Because I'm good at that stuff, not because she's not good at it. I'm better than her at that stuff. Are we together? But I might be a pastor. Do you understand it? I might be a pastor, but she's better at teaching the kids the Bible. Right? So what do? We avail the best resources for the job. Yes. In the house. Hey, I have so many illustrations to talk about this. And do you hear where I am now? I'm talking about roles in the family, right? They must not be picked based on gender. They must be picked based on skill. To do a pastoral visit and they have dogs. And the dogs come out. Right? Now, I grew up in apartheid South Africa. A dog is something that chases you, sent by the police to bite you. And for me, that's a dog. Yeah. Right? My wife grew up at home in the New South Africa with dogs in the yard. She even knows their names. And she's not scared of dogs. So we go to this place. When we get there, the dogs come out. And I freeze in the car. Remember now, I'm the protector of the family. So I freeze in the car. And then she gets out. Right? She's like, oh, there's such beautiful dogs. And she's excited. I say, hey, this is witchcraft. So I freeze. She gets gets out of the car and she starts playing with the dogs. And the dogs start jumping. And she walks away with them, leads them to the house, knocks, they open, they come, says, my husband's scared of the dogs. And they take the dog to the back and I walk in with my son. Did I cease to be a man that day? Because my wife was the protector. Do you understand? If I'd gotten out of that car as scared as I was, in the name of being a protector, I would have caused more trouble. But in availing the best resources, what did we do? Right? We averted a potentially dangerous situation. Right? And that's what we mean when we say, right, stop holding on to this. By the way, if you're married to a policewoman, right, let's say, Mama, you're a soldier, trained soldier, no? But, who is, but let's say you're a soldier, right? You're trained to handle a gun, you're trained to take down 3 men at the same time. And there are men who knock at your house at night to protect the family. Because he's the protector of the family, you, as untrained as he is, you give him the gun to protect the family. What do? We present the best available soldier to protect the family. Are you with me, friends? Right? And what do? Grab the kids, run to the bedroom. Protect the kids, and let them get in the way. Let them do her thing. Just sort them out in freedom, knowing that the kids are not around. Clear the ground for their distraction. Yeah, are you with me? Yeah, because if the kids are here, they might get caught up in the crossfire. Take the kids, run with them to the bedroom. You're not running away. You're protecting your family. Let them do the thing. Come together. So the point is, we avail the best available resources for the job. Then you babysit people's children. Right? Your children, you spend time with them. Are we together?
Yes.
You don't babysit them. What do? You parent your children.
Yeah.
Can't tell your wife, I was here the whole day babysitting these kids. No, who else was supposed to be there? It's not their parents. Are we together? You're not half a parent, you're a full-time parent. Right? So be present and do what needs to be done. I'm good at playing with kids. She's good at nurturing, taking care of them, feeding them, bathing them and whatever. And once it's done and they need to be worn out, I take them and I play with them until they cry. I can handle them, I can do that. She can't do that. Are you with me? What are we doing? We're ensuring that the kids are taken care of by availing the best available soldiers for the job. Are we together? Right. So talk about this. Talk about, have that conversation in your private rooms, in your private spaces, as to maybe what does this relationship stand for? What does it mean? What does it represent for you? What is an opportunity? What are the opportunities you'd like to pursue? What do you need my support with? You know what I think? I think you're brilliant at 1, 2, 3. Some men don't even know what their wives are good at. They don't know how intelligent their wives are. One. And vice versa is also true. Some women don't know how intelligent their husbands are, although I doubt that's likely because we like to act intelligent even when we are not. Right? So find out what is your person good at? What are they brilliant at? How can you maximize that for the benefit of this relationship and of this family? Lastly, on this part, okay? That cannot happen if every night, whenever you talk, and we were talking about this, whenever you talk, you always talk about problems. Right? Have you ever noticed that when you're sitting at home, and this is what I was talking about during lockdown, when you're sitting at home, right, and you suddenly find yourselves alone, the two of you, have you ever noticed the other party standing up and trying to find something to do? Yeah? Like, you have nothing to talk about, you have nothing to say to each other, because there are no problems to discuss, and no children to disturb you. Suddenly the other one stands up and goes and finds something to do. You don't do it consciously, right? You're not aware of it, but take note, whenever there's an opportunity for you to sit together and enjoy each other's silence, you always stand up and find something to do. Think about that. Do you know why you do that? It's your mind protecting you from being next to this person. Because every time you are together, you're talking about problems. So your mind says, every time you're close to this person, there's a chance to talk about another problem. Run. Teach each other that time with each other is not always about wrestling problems and fighting. when we fail to be fully ourselves in our relationship, right? Only to find other people who allow us to be with them what we can't be at home. Should I say that again? That's where you become vulnerable to infidelity. When you do not make your home, your relationship, a place where you can be 100% yourself. So there's a 20% that you keep hidden from your spouse. So then you go out and you find the person who allows you to be that 20%, which you can't be at home. But it's not your spouse's fault that you can't be that. It's both your fault, because you haven't spoken about it. And maybe you speak on this infidelity thing, seems to be resolutive. You know, as a preacher, you find a point that people like, in Zimbabwe, they like to say, stay there! But let me just say this, and this is now on sexuality, right? What informs desire is not just physical attractiveness, but what informs desire is also mystery. Did you hear that? What informs desire is not just physical attractiveness, but it's also
Mystery.
mystery. Right. Sit down now, children. It's mystery. This is like research. Research says people are not attracted physically or don't desire other people because those people are exceptionally beautiful, more beautiful or more handsome or more attractive than the partners they're with. But they're attracted to them because they present a mystery, a mysterious unknown experience. That's what drives desire. That's what drives desire, right? To experience something new, right? Something new, to experience something new. Now, how then do we take what occurs naturally? So people usually say, hey, my friend, men are just like that. That's what they do, you know. Let's just try and contain the damage, but we can't heal them of that because that's just the way they are, right? The problem is that attractiveness to mystery is something that is supposed to be reserved for the person you are with, whom you know better than anyone in this world, i.e., they lose their mystery. Are we together? Now, how do we reignite desire in our relationships? How do we reignite that desire in our relationships? Right? By making each and every single encounter a new experience. And to explore each other's pleasure points, so that each and every, you know, when you go into something and you're like, hey, what excites you is not what you know will happen, but what excites you is that you don't know what will happen today. Are you with me? Right? So we take that, which drives us to be unfaithful, and we weaponize it to maximize on our proximity. Right? We use it to benefit us. By the way, go to counseling even when there's nothing wrong. Gents, if your car has reached its service point, do you keep it because it's not broken? What do? You take it in for what? Service. What is service? Maintenance. You do not take the car because it's broken. You take it in for maintenance. Go to counseling for maintenance, not to fix problems. It's so strange, right? Women are more open to counseling than men, but it is men who believe in experts more than women. Men will not take the car to a bush mechanic. They will try to find the best mechanic. They believe in experts. They'll find the best electrician to do the job. They'll find someone to cut the grass, but they're not going to find an expert to help them with their relationship. Bring an idea. If you don't want to be counseled by someone from church, go pay a psychologist, a therapist, pay them. Pay for the sake of your relationship. It's easy, because for them arousal is associated with shame. Right? And people, women who couldn't get wet because that was seen as, I mean, it was bizarre that people would derive how moral you are based on how wet you get. And so they're married and they can't. Because their minds tell them that to do that and to be that is to be loose. So they can't do that, right? They can't do that. It happens. People have what we call vaginismus whenever sexual or whatever sex takes place, right? They are, call it by name, and their lady parts close and shrink, and their muscles tighten, and they can't have it. It's all mental. No matter how hard they try, they can't. See a therapist to try and liberate you and deliver you from that demon of thinking about sex as your husband is something wrong. Did you hear what I said? See a therapist to deliver from a demon. I didn't say see a pastor. See a therapist for that, right? For that thing to be sorted out. And Bear tells me, you guys, that his needs and needs.
Yeah.
The book, right? His needs, women's top 5 needs and men's top 5 needs. Take care of her needs, and she takes care of your needs. And then everyone's needs are catered for, right? Right? I mean, that's general rule of thumb. If you want it, you have to work for it. And by work, I don't mean just charming here and sending her roses and whatever during the day. Literal work. If you don't want it to be too tired for it, then reduce the load of the amount of what you have to do. Wash the dishes, boil the rice, surely my brother. In other words, reduce what she needs to do so that she has more time for you. You would know as well that she's not going to be fully present if there are things that are not done in the house. You know that, right? She's not going to be fully present. Do you know why little sex happens during the day? Most of it happens at night. Even though the kids are at school during the day. It's because there's a lot of things to do during the day. She's not present where you are because she's thinking about the chickens that need to be fed, the clothes that need to be washed, the dishes that her mind is all over the place, right? So what you do, you eliminate the places that the mind can visit so that she can be. We're not enemies. That's how we're married. We're not enemies. We're in a relationship, a partnership. And this project is for a lifetime. We're going to grow into new people with every phase and every stage of life. Right? That growth must never come at the expense of this relationship. It must always benefit this relationship. So the other day, I'm sitting on the couch and my wife comes and she sits next to me. What wrong about most of the day? She was to sleep on my chest. I said to her, just come. And she puts her head down. Then my daughter comes. I told you about the little demon. She comes and she pulls my wife's hair. Normally, my wife will move and I'll pick her up and I'll hold her. But this day I refused. She'd rather cry. She'd rather cry. Because she is a product of this relationship. She cannot destroy this relationship. She needs this relationship for her continued survival and well-being. Right? So what do? We must sacrifice her temporary happiness for her permanent well-being. So we ignored her. She threw herself on the floor. I was there stroking my wife's hair. Because this relationship must what? Must come first.
Yeah.
Ladies, did you hear me? This relationship must what?
Must come first.
Come first. I know how absorbed you get and how lost you get in your children. But your husband become a second thought. This relationship must come first. It takes about 4 or 5 years for your child to gain some semblance of independence, right? For them to be independent. 4 or 5 years to be some way independent. You know, when you can leave them on the couch without worrying that they'll fall or they'll hurt themselves or whatever for 5, 6 years, thereabout. Do you know what that means? That means if you are spending 100% of the time focusing on that child, you would have lost 5 years with your spouse. That is why we wake up 6 years later to discover that we are living with strangers. Because we spent 6 years prioritizing the stranger instead of our relationship. And then came into the detriment and the cost of the relationship. This comes first. I'm saying that intentionally because if this comes first, this becomes the foundation and the base of operation. Right? This is the base of operation. We operate from this base. We move from this base, right? To attack, to deal with whatever is external. Everything else, including your children, are external to this relationship. It is this relationship, the negotiations that happen in this relationship that determine how these children are taken care of. Are you with me? So this is the base of operation. And if this is broken, nothing else will go right. So we move from here, right? This is the base of operation and we work together. Now, if we are fighting about something external, we have already lost the battle because we have misunderstood the enemy. The enemy is not each other. The enemy is attacking this relationship. So what do, right, when there's an external pressure? We fix the relationship so that it's able to deal with that external pressure. Are you with me? And we attack it together. Granted, there are things that we fight about which are caused by each other. And we need to deal with those things, right? That they don't become part of this. Now I'm going to get into counseling mode, right? So we deal with those things so that they don't become part of the deficiencies in our relationship, right? So there are things we struggle with, we battle with each other, right? We don't like about each other. We need to get to a point where we are able to discuss them and talk about them in a manner that does not cause more damage than those things deserve. It's so funny. I always say to my wife, right? I say this to couples as well. I'm saying to you, do not let your reaction to something cause more damage than the thing you're unhappy about. Don't let your reaction to something cause more damage than the thing you're unhappy about. What does it look like? So, your son leaves their toys all over the house, right?
Yeah.
And it upsets you. So you scream, why are the toys here? Who is this filthy pig in my house? It's one of the show. Right? And you're screaming and you're shouting. But honestly, all it is just toys that are not in your box. That's all it is. But the words you're saying, not only do they not put the toys back in the box, but they also destroy the child. Your reaction is excessive and it causes more damage.
I think Japan doesn't say anything to them. So I say, guys, meet us halfway. This life is very short. This life is too short. I don't know when I'm going to drop and die. Sometimes as men, we stop in the land of plenty. I don't know why it should be the case. Anyway.